Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And today on becoming part of the GPM family, it's my pleasure to introduce the speaker of today, Mr. Mark, who's going to give us an insight on the highway, the upcoming highway, and everything Osona Village. So can you please start off with a brief introduction of the history of Osona Village?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you for the opportunity, and we thank GPMS and all of its capable staff,
Thank you.
workers, and marketing and salespeople for a positive effect that you all have had here.
Thank you for
Pretty much
noticing
since
that.
the beginning. The designs are very innovative.
Thank
and
you.
It helps drive some of the other developers to also up their game and standard a little bit while keeping it affordable.
Yes.
So affordable is the history. The background of Osana was that myself and my partners, Jacob and Gifadaka, which you'll meet shortly, started in the early 90s to deliver on the government's initiative and commitment to provide Namibians with affordable
housing.
residential property.
Okay.
And we've learned through the years in our experience in the north, especially in places like Ongudiva and Utapi and Inanna and Rundu, also on the coast, that the foundational step for affordable residential property is affordable residential land that's serviced. If we look around Windhoek, if we look around the country, it's not a brick or a roof zinc or a window frame or tiles that are difficult and not competitively priced. It's the scarcity of serviced, title deeded land with a high standard of services, with, as we find at Osana, surfaced, in this case paved interlocked roads, underground electricity, functioning wastewater or sewage, and street lighting and water, which Osana Village has the benefit, is blessed by the proximity to a large NEM water storage installation to have plenty of water and water pressure. Likewise, Osana was also benefits from a close proximity to a large NAM power bulk infrastructure, so the supply is there. So the background is our commitment through the years came down to now a focus on the Windhoek market to a much bigger scale project than one could do in other parts of the country, because really it's Windhoek. It's not exclusively Windhoek, but it's mostly Windhoek based market with a new highway. It's called in planning terms a national intersection, in this case by the government. So this dual carriageway is a big benefit, a big boon, as they say, for this development and the people who have decided to acquire property here and we believe will continue to decide, people who will market with that will continue to come to the environment. It's affordable, but with a standard of the housing, a standard of the services, and a standard of lifestyle that is that the people will value.
Yeah.
So currently and for the foreseeable future, properties at Osana, comparable property at Osona Village, well, any place else in the country would be significantly more, but if we compare to Windhoek, typically Osana is in the area of, I say, and you people actually know in more detail than I do because of all of the end users, the actual homeowners that you deal with and help acquire these properties and acquire the bank financing for it, is between 30 to 40%.
Okay.
But I think it's close to it's close to the 30 and low 30% of what it would acquire the same property in Windhoek, where it would be congested, where it would take to get to the CBD, to Government Office Park, to different parts of central Windhoek.
Yeah.
In travel times, it takes longer to get from most of those areas than it.
Like places like Havana
Exactly.
or
Ochimusi, these places,
yes.
it takes longer to get into town than it takes to get from
Osona Village.
Osona, due to the highway, into those same places in town.
Yes.
Because when you arrive in town, as this express bus now has been proving for, I think, over 6 months, you go on the dual carriageway right into the middle of town. You're not going to the edge of town and then going through these highly trafficked areas. So that lifestyle, that standard of living is something that I think people identify with more and more, or recognize more and more. But it has to start with affordability, because if one can't afford it, then it doesn't matter. How attractive that standard is. And this standard of living, like we'll talk about the highway now and some other amenities, this standard or quality of life is not something that's technically really easy to pin down. I mean, a house is, how many square meters is it? How many bedrooms does it have? How many square meters is the plot?
Yeah.
What kind of landscaping and outside environment is there on that plot? What kind of finishes are inside the house? That's much more easily defined than these lifestyle issues. Or amenity is the typical term that's used in marketing and in town planning. So the amenities that are starting to demonstrate the reality of their existence is public transport, or mass. It's not public in the sense that it's government, but it's big transport. So you currently have 2 branded buses, large 60-plus seater buses, running every morning and every evening back and forth to various stops in Windhoek. It's on a schedule. The rates are very reasonable. I don't know if there's been a change since the petrol increase and the diesel increase, but the last time I checked, if one bought a month's round trip, I think it was $46 a round trip. So, I mean, it's a joke, of course, but if I walk from here to Windhoek, and remember that's round trip, that price. If I walk from here to Windhoek, I'm going to wear out more than $46 of my shoes. Yeah. Literally, never mind in a vehicle.
And also driving in town in Windhoek. Yes. Going from a place like, say, Havana to the central Windhoek, it does still cost the same price.
Yeah. Very much. I mean, what taxi fares are,
exactly,
and what bus fares are. So I think this scale that Osana is reaching. Remember, Osana is still less than 10% of the eventual planned rollout. Yeah. Okay. And that's 1,500 properties that have been transferred. I believe 1,440 or 50 of those have actually been occupied by purchasers and their families. So that scale will continue to attract that transport. To continue on amenities, we see evidence, there's a substantial shopping center with the pharmacy, doctors, bakeries, restaurants, and we see many other shops opening in the coming weeks, inclusive of a full-size Berman & Brock high-end supermarket. It's not a discount. It's not a wholesale type. It is the same standard as they put in places like in Windhoek and Klein Windhoek. Is it Agams? That shopping center. So this will be opening. We're informed that it is the 1st of September opening. There are other commercial developers now that have seen the uptake and the absorption of these residential units by the Namibian workers, who are starting to negotiate with us for further commercial developments. We know that there's a private school, so far small and still to get fully operational, but that's the foot inside the door of the educational processes will continue here. We have a first contact from government, the district office in Ochivarongo of the Ministry of Education, and we're negotiating with them what size plot they would want,
Okay.
and especially when would they commit to going. And the reason we say when is private sector currently is a little bit more assertive and faster, and we'll see what other private sector initiatives come up for education. There have been several proposals. So when one looks at the current status of developed plots, it's noteworthy. It's obvious. We get asked the question frequently: why are there so many vacant open blocks in between the developed plots? Most of those are because it is for these amenities.
Okay.
There are big plots reserved for educational facilities, private and public. Big plots reserved for medical facilities. For police stations, we have a written commitment from the head of the police that they will be establishing a satellite police station, satellite from the district police office in Okahanja.
Yeah.
And again, so it's a mix of private and public sector, but that's one of the reasons for these open
Spaces,
blocks in between the developed areas.
So we're just waiting for the people to come to Osona, start living here, and then once that number
That's
increases,
it
then the
takes,
amenities
yes,
increase.
Exactly. It takes this process is the shops, the government, the medical professionals, the educational, they don't come in anticipation of someday there'll be enough people. They want to see the people there.
Because at the end it's business.
And that's right, exactly. And that's so to make it, economically or financially viable, they can't come and say, okay, hopefully there'll be 1,000 or 5,000. But now they see there's enough of a start. When I say that we're still less than 10%, as I mentioned, that's still a good 1,500. We believe, by the end of the calendar year, that number will be more like 1,700 or 750. And remember, that's not people who expressed interest. That's people who have signed, agreed with the developer, gone to their employer for the paperwork, gone to their financial institution, and the finalization of the house, the registration of the property as well as the construction of it is in process.
Okay. And the same thing goes with the buses. Like for people wondering whether multiple buses will come with multiple time slots. So it depends on the people. For Osona Village to grow, then all of that will come in.
Right.
Yeah.
The faster it grows, the faster those amenities come.
Yes.
And it's becoming evident. It's not just us and others are saying it. It's becoming.
It's not hopeful
the buses did
thinking.
come.
Yeah.
And I think there's a third. There's more of a flexible timing of these buses coming. They'll maintain what they have now, but they'll add. As of this month, we're told they will add different times during the day.
Okay.
So one can go later in the day and one can come back earlier in the day.
Which saves
and
petrol
that
and
subscription
time.
is really building up. Remember, they didn't start 2 years ago. They started, I think they ran last November up to Christmas, then they started again in February. So it's 6 months, and they're already now going to increase the side. Plus, they have decided to spend the money on branding the buses and on really publicizing that those are Osana dedicated.
For buses.
They don't stop.
Yeah, for any.
Here in town.
Okay.
You follow me? And they don't stop on the way back.
It's private.
Right. I believe they have in town. I think each bus has at least 4 or 5 locations that it goes to.
Okay.
So, so people get into that routine, and then they're picked up at the same place at the end of the day.
Okay.
So these amenities, it's the transport. The highway is a big play because whether it's in a bus or in a car, you get here in 30, 35 minutes. With the finalization of the highway, that will shrink. How much it shrinks, okay, is still to be seen, but it'll be less than a half an hour.
Okay.
From the center of Windhoek to here, where many people work, because as I said, the vast majority of purchasers work in Windhoek.
Okay.
And that will be less than 30 minutes. And there will be multiple entrances. The existing B1 will remain in place, but the amount of traffic on it will reduce very, very substantially.
Because it's split by the two highways, by the other highway
people
coming.
can get off at the bridge just below and come up the highway if they live in the southern end of Osana. If they live in the middle or northern end, the bridge that will feature too, I think you'll have that pictured, that bridge and interchange will service the other parts of Osana, and from that bridge on either side there'll be multiple entrances to those areas.
Okay.
And similarly, those entrances, commercial development will follow the residential development in those areas. So it won't be one shop in one portion that attracts all the business. The zoning and the planning and the zoning provides for shops spread around the development, and schools and clinics spread around the development eventually.
And when will the highway finish,
We're
done?
told, again, we have the access to information we have. Number one is direct from the Roads Authority officials, who are owners and responsible for the such roads and the road network in Namibia. They're consulting engineers who are really like the project managers and the contractor.
Yes.
So we're told that the highway complete, meaning all the way through to the Ochivarungo and Caribib roads, and the full highway being handed over to Roads Authority from the engineers and the contractor, is due for the end, December 2023.
Okay.
And that will of course depend on government funding, but physically and hopefully in your video now or in the future, you can see the extent of the work is almost there.
Yeah.
So we're told that the bridge on the Osana property will be functional by December 2022 now. But that will be for access of Osana developers and homeowners to either side, the property on either side of the highway, and that the connector road, what's referred to as the connector road between, because the new highway is connected to the old one, also by that interchange. And there's a 1.5 or 2 kilometer piece of road that they'll build to connect the two pieces. And then Osana residents will have multiple entrances ways to go.
That's my next question now.
And that we're told will be by June 2023.
Okay.
So all these sound long, but the time passes. It wasn't that long ago that we saw the highway, 10 kilometers south, and all of a sudden